So today we're going to do a bit of an update into Boohoo. So they brought a trading update last week and I thought, you know what, now would be a really good time to talk about Boohoo and also why I've not really mentioned it too much and also why I've stopped buying Boohoo in the last year. It's been over a year now since I last bought some shares in Boohoo and I'll talk about the reasons why that has kind of happened. And obviously without me buying Boohoo, I've not really mentioned it too much on the YouTube channel. And also just to let you know, this is actually my second time recording this video. First time, the mic was not turned on. Unbelievable. Sometimes you guys don't see when these things go wrong in the background, but it's one of those when you go to edit the video and you go, oh no, there's no sound there. It's pain. But here we go for the second time anyway. So Boohoo. So yeah, overall, like the overall kind of picture that I want to kind of paint to you guys, and I'll also kind of cover it a bit more towards the end of the video, is like ultimately Boohoo's share price has crashed during 2022. But obviously when you look in 2022, the stock market in general was awful. So many stocks absolutely nosedived in 2022. Now the difference was that, and you guys would have had the same problem as this, is that you have as an investor limited cash on where to put things. And looking at 2022 when Boohoo was going down, the whole stock market was going down, for me personally, I had to look at the opportunities and identify the opportunities that I thought were going to bring me the best return in. And I was looking at Boohoo and I was looking at the fundamentals and the financials and they weren't doing that well. But there was other stocks in the stock market where I was looking at the share price going absolutely down as much as Boohoo. But you look at the financials and the fundamentals and they were going up and up and up and up. And you're going, well, I can't justify buying any more Boohoo this year when the company isn't financially doing that well. And you've got other stocks that are tanking, but they're absolutely smashing it. You know, you had the likes of InMode, for example, the likes of DraftKings, for example, Hims and Hers. There was a good selection, Mercado Libre, there was a good selection of stocks that were absolutely smashing it and crashing as much as Boohoo. And it doesn't make sense for me to chase a stock that isn't financially performing when I can chase the stocks that are diving as much with as good, amazing financial performance. And that's where I had to rotate, and that's why I stopped buying Boohoo and I started buying into those other stocks. Now, overall, we're going to look at the story of Boohoo. We're going to look at what's went wrong, what could go right, or what could still go wrong for Boohoo, and where I potentially could come a buyer again for this stock. So let's jump back a bit in time. Let's go back to 2020. So we're going about 3 years ago now. And I mean, you guys, I mean, there's probably like 1,500 of you guys that watch my videos every day. And thank you for you guys that do watch my videos every day, by the way. And I reckon, I'd say 5% of you guys might have been watching the videos in 2020. So you guys that was watching the videos in 2020, at the start of 2020, before the whole CV situation, obviously you guys probably will have known is that Boohoo absolutely tanked 50% in that time frame. And that's actually when I first bought Boohoo. And then from that time frame, the stock absolutely rallied. I think a few people kind of clicked on like, hold on, this stock's down 50%, but like it was a company that was doing very well before the CV situation, and actually it's doing even better now because online, the high street's shut, but online's still doing all the deliveries and sales. So this is actually a pretty decent company to be buying at the moment, and everyone kind of caught on that this stock is, you know, a good opportunity and probably doing even better. And we saw the rally in the share price, and for me, I actually sold out of Boohoo. I took a 100% return in Boohoo. Well, I don't think it was 100% return. I think it was somewhere between 90 and 80% at the time, but it was good profit. And then Boohoo actually had another dip, a little bit of a rally, another dip back, another bit of a rally. During that time frame, I can't remember what both dips were for. If I remember correctly, I believe one was a short report that was on Boohoo at the time, and I believe the other one was to do with the whole supply chain and the workforce conditions that kind of came out. So that caused dips in Boohoo share price, and I was obviously buying in that time frame. And it had a bit of a rally up from that time frame into the start of 2021. And same again, I was kind of taking 40-50% profits in that time frame. But then the stock unfortunately took a nosedive in 2021 into 2022, and then I was obviously holding an average of, I think it was £2.40. I averaged down a little bit. I think somewhere I'm in like maybe the £1.80ish or something right now. That's me going off the top of my head. That might not be correct. But we did average down a little bit, and then eventually I got to the point in 2022 where I was like, I can't buy anymore because the financials had stopped improving, and that's where I had to stop buying it. And that was clear when you were looking at the financial report. So let's jump back to the 10th of March in 2022. So this was one of the last times where I was confident to buy. And they came off a quarter where the group delivered net sales of 7%. I was thinking that's still pretty good, considering the boom that they've had. There is going to be some slowdown. We were starting to see some of the CV boom stocks starting to have the slowdown because they had so much demand pulled forward. I was like, okay, that's still okay. There was some weaker growth in areas. There was gross margins starting to get hit a little bit, but I was like, that's okay. Now, by the time we jump only a couple more months, if we jump here to, this was on the 31st of May, you can see here UK sales then actually declined, and I was like, whoa, this is like, no, at no point should the UK sales decline for Boohoo. Rest of Europe, USA, I could understand, even though USA is supposed to be one of their growth drivers for the next few years, because during this time frame we had the likes of the shipping costs that skyrocketed, the delays of shipping. I couldn't understand them being so weak because of how long it was taking products to get across, but at no point the UK should be weak. So we had, obviously, gross margins declining, the energy situation that was going on, shipping costs, material costs, they were all skyrocketing. Gross margin was coming down, but also revenue growth was weak. And I could understand these, but I didn't understand the UK. That was very, very alarming to me, and that's why I had to stop buying here. And also, I was factoring other things in, like Debenhams being a good acquisition, and that really didn't seem to show much signs for Boohoo either. And also, maybe the reasons why is obviously we had the costs, the material costs, the shipping delays, but maybe the lines in general weren't good enough. Maybe it was the rise of Shen that was obviously putting a lot of pressure and potentially taking market share. And these guys were, showing no signs of slowdown. And I also factored in, like, we saw the damage that maybe this did, the workforce situation, maybe that damaged the situation or the reputation for Boohoo a little bit during this time frame. But I was thinking, if that's a major situation, well, obviously when people find out how bad the working conditions in Shin are, that's way better, even way worse than what Boohoo's were. There were the amount of clothes they're having to do to pump out every hour, like the how low paid they are, the working conditions over there, that it's just as bad. And it's like, well, if that's some sort of impact, surely that will have some effect on Shein when this all comes out, and it did, and it hasn't really had much impact on this here, which was crazy to see that Boohoo was hurt so much by it on a share price point of view, and then this has no impact at all on Shein anyway. So, I mean, overall, when you look at the financials, there was a combination of a lot of factors. We saw gross margins for majority of a lot of companies that were actually producing physical products be killed, and also had sales problems as well. And I was like, I can't buy it until these are improving. Now, you'd hope the gross margins will improve from some point because of the logistics side of it coming down, everything, the fuel prices coming down, being cheaper. You'd hope to see that start improving, and can they come back to growth? That's the only question. But because it was I didn't want to buy. Could they do that? I was buying stocks that were financially performing, and unfortunately for Boohoo, that wasn't happening. Now, let's go on to the recent update with Boohoo. Is there any signs of this starting to improve at the moment? Well, ultimately, I would say not that much at the moment. There's not that much improvement financially at the moment on Boohoo. They have reduced the stock down by 36% year over year. They did say they're having a medium target of adjusted EBITDA margins to 6 to 8%, and they are expecting revenue to get back to double digits revenue growth. Obviously, that's fantastic, but that's medium term targets. We're not seeing it in the financials. I can't buy until I see this starting to come into the stock, and that's not happened. So ultimately, if they can hit these targets, without doubt, Boohoo at 42p. And this is why I haven't sold, by the way. I haven't sold because I think there's a chance that Boohoo will get back to them sort of levels. And that's why I haven't sold. But I haven't bought anymore because they aren't doing that as well. So I haven't sold because if they do hit them targets, Boohoo at 42p is a very good opportunity. That would see the stock easily go back above the £1 mark. But at the same time, I don't want to buy until I see that financials start showing up. And that's the big thing. I've seen Boohoo before say that Q2 was the 2022 back end of the year would start improving, and it didn't. So I've got to see that start happening in the financials. You look at the actual year financials, revenue growth down 11%, gross profit absolutely killed. Can they bring that back going forward? Can they bring the revenue back? Gross margins being killed. And when you were listening to the conference call, it was still saying that even March, April, May seems pretty weak at the moment as well at the moment. But the things they're saying is like they're opening up the new automation centre in Sheffield. Can that drive efficiency? They're opening up the US distribution. Obviously if that takes lead times down, obviously takes down the costs. Can that help the gross margins going forward? That's obviously what you got to keep an eye on. UK revenue is still down, international revenue is still down, gross margins still down at the moment. And you can see here, over the medium term, we're planning to rebuild profitability back to 6% to 8% adjusted EBITDA margin target and getting back to double-digit revenue growth. But you look at the outlook and guidance here, you can see here, revenues are expected to be between flat and decline by 5% from the prior year. So there's still not much improvement there. But what you see here is that in the second half of the year, the group expects to return to revenue growth as it benefits from the investments being made. So ultimately, this is the key thing. These longer term targets should start showing up in the back end of this year. And that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of at that. You look at the financials, they're still not having the improvement at the moment. So I can't buy it. But if you look at the back end of the year, that will probably give us a better idea of where Boohoo is at. If we start seeing the profitability being driven up, if we start seeing the revenue growth coming back, it comes interesting at the end of the year. But that's the end of the year. By that time frame, we've still got 6 months to go, and there could be many things that happen in that time frame. And for me, I've got to see this start showing in the financials. I can't keep having things promised to me, and they're not showing up. So I'm not selling because if this happens, I'll still do okay with the shares that I do have. But at the same time, I can't be a buyer because I have to see this come in. I've got to see the margin improvement. I've got to see all these efficiencies, cost savings, material costs coming down, shipping coming down. I've got to see it in the financials. And that's where I'm at with Boohoo ultimately. I've got to see it in the financials for me to be a buyer. But at the same time, I'm not selling because if this does come back, I can easily still make okay money from this Boohoo situation. And ultimately as well, that's why I don't want to chase a stock at the moment that isn't showing the fundamentals. There's been plenty of opportunities in 2022. There's been plenty of opportunities in 2023. I want to chase them opportunities where I look at the fundamentals and the financials and they're improving absolutely rapidly, but yet the share price is dropping massively, and I'm like, I can't buy Boohoo because I've got to be buying them opportunities. And that's where I've been in the last year, and that's where in the next 12 months I'll be for Boohoo. And like I said, we could reassess this in the back end of the year and actually see if we get towards 2024 and we see the financial improvement, or if we don't see the financial improvement, we'll have a good idea where Boohoo is at the moment. So yeah, ultimately that's a bit of an update where we're at with Boohoo. I hope it's useful. I'll cut it there before I end up kind of repeating any points that I've kind of said there. But I hope it was useful. If you could hit the like button, and catch you all in a bit.